When are you going to stop robbing your child of opportunities for self-advocacy? Or are you going to be one of these people who creates a grown-ass man-child that can't function? Children, even young adult children, have to learn to fend for themselves, and you're robbing Bronny of that. Starting a business should not be something that's hard for you, even if you need to scale your business. Do me a favor right now. Shoot me a DM on Instagram with the word coach at the Business Bully, and we'll see what we can make happen for you. As a parent, I can understand wanting to make sure that your kid has every possible advantage they can. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at you flexing whatever power you have or connections you have to give your kid a leg up. I feel like one of the main problems in the Black community is that we don't practice nepotism enough, that we don't try to mold and help our children become phenomenal in what they are best suited to do. That doesn't mean that you dash their dreams, but I think that if we had a more concentrated focus, we wouldn't have so many kids out here trying to build a wilderness store like Sandra and Elvin. Somebody just caught that reference. But the thing I want to talk about today is LeBron James versus Stephen A. Smith. So let's have a real conversation, shall we? Bronny James is a talented kid. I'm not going to say he's not. He's got the genetics. However, Bronny James wasn't even cast in the new Space Jam as LeBron James's son. I mean, it is what it is. The thing that I find very interesting in what Stephen A. Smith said, which, you know, there are people who like Stephen A. Smith and don't like Stephen A. Smith. I don't dislike the man. I think he's a journalist, and I think we come to an era where he has become effectively the heir apparent to what Howard Cosell was. I know people think Skip Bayless was that, but let's face it, Skip Bayless is more about Skip Bayless than he is about talking about sports in the context of balls and strikes. But I digress. When it comes to Stephen A. Smith, he stated a fact. And here's the ugly fact that LeBron King James has yet to face. Bronny James scores on average 1.4 points per game. Yet and still, he got drafted to the Lakers because LeBron James said, I will sign with whatever team is going to sign my son because I want to play with my son. Now, there are those who feel, and I do as well, that LeBron James is basically the Lakers front office. He's the franchise player. He gets to call his shots. And again, I'm not mad at a parent advocating for his kid. Where I draw the line is when you start to get up in a guy's face who you could easily lift up like the Hulk did Loki and smash him to smithereens. And get mad because he pointed out the fact that your son at this point, who's still in development, who's still very young, who's still very wet behind the ears, and as my daddy would say, God rest his soul, still pooping out yellow. You got mad because he said he scores 1.4 points per game. Isn't that something that you should be helping your son fix as opposed to bucking up on Stephen A. Smith? The only thing that comes closer to that to me is when Will Smith got up in Chris Rock's face and slapped him and said, keep my wife's name out your mouth at the Oscars. Dude, you're a billionaire. You're a billionaire. And Stephen A. Smith is right. Like, your management has his number, but you wanted to make a scene. You wanted to make a spectacle. You wanted to try to sun this man in front of millions of people. And I understand being a father, you want to advocate for your kid, but again, sometimes your kid ain't you. Michael Jordan's kids ain't playing in the league. You want to know why? They suck at basketball. I'm sorry. Sometimes your kids just ain't as good as you are. I like YDB. I think YDB is cool. Is he old dirty bastard? No, he's not. Wu-Tang is for the children, but you're getting my point here. LeBron, you acted like a baby. You acted like a disgruntled soccer mom whose transmission on her minivan went 5 minutes before the game. None of that said king. None of that said leader. And none of that lived up to the legacy of the Lakers franchise. On top of that, the Lakers have made some moves that I do like, but the truth of the matter is y'all ain't exactly in the best waters yourselves. So maybe you should concentrate a little bit more on getting the team together than trying to gather Stephen A. Smith. It was almost like watching a battle of the hairlines. And to be honest with you, the hairlines made headlines and it kind of bothered me. Because even if you didn't like what he said or how he said it, what he said was factual. 1.4 points per game. I remember when Manute Bol played for the 76ers, and while he was 7'7" and they had Manute Bol bobblehead night, he averaged half a point a game. Then got traded to the Golden State Warriors and started leading the league in three-pointers. It's weird, but maybe you should stop trying to be the front office, the head coach, and somehow Bronny James, who, by the way, is a grown-ass man, maybe you should stop trying to be his bodyguard and just be his teammate on the court and off the court. Maybe run some shooting drills, bring in some specialists, some strength and conditioning coaches, something, but let that man develop. Because when you retire, which is a lot closer than most people think, your kid's going to have to figure out his way in the league. If LeVar Ball did to Stephen A. Smith what you did to Stephen A. Smith, he'd be everything but a child of God, but you're King James and can't nobody say anything to you. Well, homie, I'm here to tell you what you did was immature, ridiculous, deplorable, and an abuse of power and completely disrespectful. To put it another way, you should have picked on somebody your own size. Finally, I want to ask you, when do you think your son will be able to develop the skill set to advocate for themselves? My friend Dr. George C. Fraser says, when you ask God for strength, he doesn't just zap his fingers. He gives you a challenge. He gives you something heavy to lift. He gives you opportunities to be strong. When you ask God for patience, he gives you opportunities to be patient. When are you going to stop robbing your child of opportunities for self-advocacy? Or are you going to be one of these people who creates a grown-ass man-child that can't function? Children, even young adult children, have to learn to fend for themselves, and you're robbing Bronny of that, which means he won't have the grit that you had, because unlike you, he's in a two-parent household. Unlike you, he's the son of a billionaire. Unlike you, he's the son of an NBA legend who's arguably top 2 in damn near everybody's book, if not top 3, R.I.P. Kobe. So you're getting in the way of his natural progress because you robbed him from the hunger, you robbed him from the grit, you robbed him from the resilience, and now you're robbing him for the ability to stick up for himself. If he had an issue with what Stephen A. Smith said, he got a mouth, he got a phone, he should be able to fight his own battles and not have to run and hide behind his daddy's very massive coattail and very huge shadow.